Alright, let's do this. The Fords of Isen, the first scenario in the Voice of Isengard deluxe box set in the Ringmaker cycle. So let's do this, the two-player progression series in Pandem's playthroughs. So today we're going to play the Fords of Isen, so 1A, flight at the ford. Riding north to the Gap of Rohan, you come across a battle on the Fords of Isen. A small number of Rohirrim have taken the defensive position on the islet in the river centre where the large force of Dundonlings assail them. You must move swiftly lest the river run red with blood of Rohan. Add the islet to the staging area and attach Grima to that location. Each player searches for one different Dunland enemy and adds it to the staging area. Shuffle the encounter deck. Then the islet is a 1-1 location and is immune to player card effects, and while the islet is active, each Dunland enemy gets +1. And then Grima, 2-1, 2-3. Rohan, if free of encounters, we gain control of Grima. Action exhaust him for a card. And then if he leaves the game, you lose. Alright, so I'm going to pick two here. The two Dunlands I'm going to pick here are, and bear in mind we are adding these to the staging area, are most likely the Dunland Bandit. And the Dunland Bandit is a 2-1-2, and when we're engaged, he does +1 for each card in the player's hand. And the other one we'll do is a Dunland Tribesman. So these have 33 and 37 threat, respectively. And the reason we choose these ones is that I want to delay the engagement. The entire focus around these two decks is attacks into the staging area or range to cover each other, or the ability to splash damage. So I'll choose these two. Now, I recorded 5 attempts on this scenario, right? And so, as such, I have started recording this since my first recording and always pick the Tribesman and Bandit when I play. So you'll see in a moment this is going to flick to a very different lighting scenario and things have moved around. The Berserker is one of the others I pick here. So there's a couple of things here. I'm going to pause it here and talk a little bit about drawing and adding. The important part to remember here is that we do set up and then we draw cards into our hand as part of the starting phase. The difference here is these decks, like Galadriel's Mirror and various card draw mechanisms in these decks, will add a card to our hand, not draw. So you can see here the Berserker, when you draw a card, if it's engaged with you, it makes an attack, right? Versus adding a card where it wouldn't do that. So I'm conscious of that, along with the fact that these have higher threat. There's a 25 threat Berserker, and then there's a 30 threat Prowler in the Dunland deck, and the rest of it's 33, 35, 37. So this should give us some time with the little bit of Galadriel ability to drop threat to help us out here. So 1B, Fight at the Isen, time 5, forced. After the last time encounter is removed, discard Grima. Grima leaves. Happy days. Right, we lose. So we've got 6 progress. The time mechanic here is a time counter, denoted by the 5 dice on my counter. And that dice, which is on my first player counter, will tick down for the various stages. So at the end of the phase, at the refresh phase, we turn the time counter back. 1, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then trigger the card effect accordingly. There are encounter cards that will impact us here. Alright, so let's talk about the decks. Got Tactics Eomer, 10, 1, 3, 2, 4, Rohan Noble Warrior, and after a character leaves play, Eomer gets +2. Spirit done here, 8, 1, 2, 1, 4. Done here can target enemies in the staging area alone. When doing so, he gets +1. And then Eowyn, 9, 4, 1, 1, 3, Noble Rohan, and Spirit Eowyn can discard a card from your hand to give you +1 in the quest phase. This becomes very handy for me in this scenario. You can do it once per player, per round. So let's do this here. And then on the other side, this cycle introduces a lot of elves. And remember, I play for the complete cycle, how it's play tested, not per AP. So we gain a lot of cards from Celebrimbor's Secret, the Antler Crown, and various things. So this is most of the Elvish starter deck as well. So 9, 2, 3, 1, 3, Haldir, Law, Silvan, Ranger, Scout, Range, Combat Action. If you have not engaged an enemy this round, exhaust Haldir and declare him as attacker and resolve attack against an enemy not engaged with you. This can be ranged next to you, or this can be staging area. You can attack directly into the staging area. the goal of this deck here is to take equipment from Tactics Armor, the Bow of Galadriel and various things, and place it on Haldir. Spirit Galadriel 94004. Galadriel cannot quest, attack, or defend. Allies do not exhaust to quit. See, and this is the thing, I didn't read the card fully. Allies don't exhaust, right? So, and then you can tap her for one card and reducing one spirit. And then Caliborn 3, 2, 2, and he gives a buff of 1/1/1 to any Silvan allies enter play. All right. So before we start, I'm just going to quickly shuffle the decks here and go through the cards I want. But yes, I didn't realise that the allies entering play don't have to exhaust that round to quest, which would have changed my gameplay a bit easier. Anyway, that's fine. I make a couple of mistakes. What I'm fishing for here in this hand is things like Mirror of Galadriel and Nenya. I need that there. So picking Mirror or Nenya to start is good. The Mirror lets me search to top 10 cards, pick one, add it to my hand, shuffle a random card to be discarded from that hand. So the goal is I'm pretty confident to go through this deck and find what I need every single turn. If I can get unexpected, if get Mirror on her to get fish for Nenya, get Nenya on her, we're cooking. Because she can't quest, she gives her quest points to Eowyn in this, so Eowyn will quest for 8, right? In this hand here, I'm looking for an engine, something that will help my engine going. I'm looking for things that will either buff my heroes, cheap allies, or some weapons to buff Haldir. Right, the goal is getting Haldir big, and everyone else can defend around him. Eventually with Firefoot, hopefully can do some splash damage against targets. The goal here using Firefoot is to hit someone locally hard and knock out one or two people. If I can draw enemies out of the staging area through naturally with certain levels of threat, that's the goal. I get Arwen here. I get 2 Fates, which is nice. And I get some cheapish heroes. Remember, I generate 2 spirit per turn, so I can afford these horses. And I'm also getting the benefit if a character leaves play, either Silvan or Rohan, I trigger Eomer's benefits, which is really cool. So Arwen comes out. Arwen, fantastic 2 cost, 2 willpower, 1 defense, and 2 health ally. And when she exhausts, you can place Sentinel and +1 defense. So if she exhausts to defend, she can defend for 2 and has 2 health, right? Which is handy against those 2 threat berserkers, depending on the shadow card. Alright, so I didn't drop a card, but I got Orphan there. Alright, so we play the Mirror. To trigger the Mirror. So triggering the Mirror, we draw 10 cards, of which we will then look at those cards and hopefully get something out. So what I'm looking for are things like Nenya, are things like anything that can help me reduce the cost to play things as they enter the board. It's a Magic the Gathering term there. Or anything can help me be successful. Now, in this shuffle, so now Nenya's out of my hand, I shuffle the rest of my deck. My camera's not quite aligned right at the moment, or I'm sitting too far back. I grab Nenya, and hopefully we can shuffle this up and get the card we want removed, and hopefully it's not. Okay, Auron's Council's fine. There are scenarios where I do a D6, because like you got 2 cards, or 3 cards, and so do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But yeah, so I play Nenya then. So pulled a Nenya is handy. It's the same as using Hammersmith, from the core set, the Law Dwarf, to search things. You need a way to find the cards you want. Now, silliness here, right, is that now reading Galadriel's card properly, is that allies do not have to exhaust when they enter the board. Do not exhaust to commit to the quest during the round they play, right? Which offsets some of her inability of not using Nenya if we don't get there. But also, which means here, it's the same for both hands. So Arwen wouldn't have exhausted to quest. Oh no, allies you control, sorry. Arwen would exhaust, but that Silvan Ranger would not have exhausted. So a little bit frustrating I didn't read it properly, but that's made it harder for myself, I reckon, on these attempts, because I would have had more defenders and more chump blockers readied up. It's okay, so I'll quest with Arwen. Arwen gives her +1 to and Sentinel to Caliborn. I think I chose to do. No, I didn't. I'm trying to think who I gave it to now. It doesn't really matter this turn because I'm not engaging anyone out of the staging area. I'm going to be still attacking into it. But this is a scenario. If you can control this staging area, you're able to keep what comes out to a minimum. And if you keep that threat, 33, 37, you can see those two there, and do the lower ones. We got 29 and 27 threat. Right, we've got a few rounds up our sleeve as long as we quest properly. Alright, so we move ahead a day here because playing time at the moment is limited. Alright, so I got Dunland Prowler and a Dunland Raider. Now, these are tricky because sorry, not Raider, it's a Prowler. So the Prowler is 31, 2, 3, 3. And when I have 3 cards in my hand or more, it gains Surge, and if I have 5 anymore, it gains +1. And then the other one is the Dunland Raider, 35 threat, 3, 5, 3, 5. And when I engage the player, I must do X divided number. Engage the player, it must do X damage with the number of cards in your hand, divided amongst your characters. So this is where I've got a little bit of healing with one of the Silvan cards, but not much for the other deck. Alright, so get ourselves sorted here. And away we go. We speed up the play because here I'm doing a lot of counting and recounting. Right? And so I'm too short. Yeah, I'm thinking through this going, okay, should I have enough? Should I not have enough? I end up counting this a number of times, right? And this is the one thing about playing versus Dragon cards that spoiled me, is that there's no automatic counting, right? So I got 8 from Galadriel and Eowyn, 3 from Arwen, 3 from the ally under my arm there, the Silvan, and then an extras from Caliborn. So I choose to engage the Bandit here because I should have taken the Prowler because the Prowler is, well, this is a toss up. It's 6 damage for 6 damage. The Prowler hits for 1 plus how many cards in your hand, but I use Feint here, right? So, but in hindsight, I should have taken the 30 threat Prowler because I have to deal with him sooner if I look at my threat scale. So that's fine. So we're hitting for 6 between Haldir, Irma, and Dun here, which is fine. So tidy up, and you can see I'm speeding up the play a little bit here because there's a lot of shuffling and a lot of tokens. And hopefully we're going to draw out some of the weapons in that left-hand deck. The bow, the horses, mounts, things that will help improve the splash damage. I want so Irma, when an ally leaves play, either hand will get +2 attack when attacking, and then you get Spear of the Mark, which is +1 or +2 in the staging area, which also he's hitting for 7. Get Firefoot, he'll be hitting for extra, and any extra damage against someone you're engaged with can splash over as direct damage, right? So it's a good way to clear 2 or 3 people at once. Given that each phase, 1B to 2B to 3B, makes you draw additional Dunland enemies, when always will pick the Tracker and the Berserker, or Tracker and the Prowler, depending on my the Bandit, depending on my threat level. Always ends up being a bit spicy, right? So I play Galadriel's Handmaiden here, enters the board, should be able to quest for free, Pandem, but here questing for 3 because it's +1 from Caliborn, and should not be exhausting, right? But that's okay. So I've done that there. I play here. I wanted to determine if I want to play another card in my hand. I want to spend it. Before I do, I'll play the Mirror. So we speed up again, playing the Mirror. And now, Unexpected Courage is ideal, right? Is what I've picked out here. Now, there's a couple of these in the deck across the 2 hands. The Revised Core. I own 4 Unexpected Courages, and across the decks, I think I use my 4. It would be 3. Depending on what decks you play. It's handy. It's nice when you don't have 3 in one deck, or the build doesn't rely on Unexpected Courages, right? It leverages Unexpected Courage, right? But yeah, it's nice to have. And I put this on Haldir. I've put it on Galadriel before to trigger her draw a card and reduce your threat. However, with the triggers on this in this particular scenario, I'm cautious. So here we could play Escort from Edoras, I think, for the... It gives me +2, so 4th questing, which is nice, but it leaves the play after the quest phase, right? So, cautious here. I play Westfold. There's so many Westfold or West Road characters in this deck. I play Westfold Horsebreaker, and what the Horsebreaker does is allows me to discard the breaker to ready a hero. Right, so in this here, I could have quested for 2 on it and still been ready because of Galadriel's proc. Oh no, it's not. No, again, it wouldn't be because of Galadriel's proc because she's it's something for your control. Got to get used to that. But that's okay. So the islet here, I can see here. Looks like the counting, right? When the islet is the active location, each Dunland enemy gets +1. And I realise I'm under. I need 2 more. So this is where Eowyn's action: discard 1 card from your hand to give Eowyn +1 to end a round. Each effect may be triggered by each player once a round. So I'm too short. Each person discards 1, which gives me +1, so it gives me 18 against 17, which means I progress against the islet. I draw out the 30 threat, and I bring up here. So I then need to travel to something. If it's the Gap of Rohan, or if it's the Gap of Rohan, which is a 2/3. And when the staging area gives it Dunland enemies +1. And then the other one there is... What do we got here? It is... I can't see. The Fords of Isen. The Fords of Isen and staging effect, I can't gain resources from card effects, i.e. Shula Gondor. And it's a 3/4 river. After the Fords of Isen becomes active location, each player with fewer than 5 cards in his hand draws until he has 5 cards. Now, this will trigger the procs of Dunland Berserker, who would attack you if it was engaged with you, right? All these sort of things. So there's a really nasty synergy that can play against you. There are some conditions in this deck that when you draw a card, do a damage to your player, increase your threat, which happen at the end of round, but also when you have forced triggers to draw. This is where adding a card, as discussed earlier, to your hand or to your play area is different from drawing a card, right? So dwarf decks here are in struggle town. So let's see what we're going to do here. I'm going to attack here. So Eomer and Haldir do enough to kill a prowler, which provide us a bit of reprieve. And then done here attacks into the staging area for 3, so 2+1 against defensive 2, doing 1 damage up there. So you can see what we're doing here. I'm not strong enough to take on 8 damage in the raiders yet, but they're coming. I want to either drain my hand completely when I have like 6 cards in my hand, where I have to do 6 damage, splash damage, or akin to archery damage. So yeah, we're going to end that round. We turn the counter down to 3, sticking down. So I need to clear the 6th threat on the 1A or 1B before it runs out. Otherwise, Grima leaves play, and when Grima leaves play, we lose. In about 3 of my playthroughs, and you can hear me eating breakfast while I record this, you can, what happened here is that I've had times where I got to the final round and then I've had a surge of, there's the Bow of Galadriel and Hanamath River Song, which is fantastic, which works well with Windfoot. Now, a few times we're getting stuck, not location lock, but it's a sheer number of enemies I'm dealing with, keeping my questers back to do things. Now, it would have been easier knowing Galadriel and her allies come out and not have to exhaust a quest the first round. Yes. However, that's my own fault. All I can say is read the entire card. As someone who dabbles in a bit of Magic Commander with friends, read the entire card first. That's okay. We're not... Look, this game isn't easy, but sometimes we make it harder on ourselves, right? I think we all can empathise with not reading the card. So having Henmarth River Song is really good there, because that allows us to then look at the top card of the deck, and with Wingfoot's proc, which is Wingfoot, not Windfoot, is attached to a ranger hero, so to Haldir. Attached hero commits to a quest, name enemy, location, or treachery. If it is revealed, they don't exhaust a quest, right? Which means you're just peeking, you can see it, which is just tops, right? So here it comes, the 1-2 combo, which I think is better than playing an ally this turn. I was going to play One to draw an event up, the Minstrel, but I thought this is a better combo to have, and provided I don't have to discard any attachments from, with a shadow card or a nasty one, I'm okay. Right? There's a shadow card in this deck that will discard the defending player's attachment, and you have to pick one. So I've got 2 here, which is nice, or 3 actually, 4. Or, if you're undefended, discard all, which is just, spicy. So Henmarth there is doing its thing, which is super. One of the most fantastic cards in solo play. It's less useful in that, but you can see there, cool, flipped it over, I name location. Whoa, that's like I knew, right? So that means I get an extra 2 per quest. Now, it's nothing much, but as you saw in the previous round, 2 was all I needed to quest successfully. So it does start to add up. All right, so I'm sending through the girls. I'm sending through... so I always toss up here. Like, I always send Galadriel, and that triggers Eowyn. So Eowyn's quest for 8. Now, the big part here is you pick someone to quest for you for that value. If they get negated, you lose Galadriel's bonus, right? So we're doing that here. I also forgot to play my other hand before I do any more questing. This is Bow of Galadrim is going on Haldir. Bow of Galadrim is key to this deck. So, attached to a Silvan character with a range keyword, restricted. Attached character gets 1 plus damage. 2, instead, if you're attacking an enemy not engaged with you. Works well with ranged, works well with staging area attacks. Super. What I do like about this, however, is that I can use it locally and get a +1 as well. So he's still hitting for 4, which is handy when you use it with other people, or if you get the Rivendell Blade that's in the other deck out, which is -2 on defense. And that -2 from the Rivendell Blade is just so nice. All right, Nath Guide's out. We're going to quest, but we clip the questing tokens. All right, so here we go. We do our questing. There's +2 from... So she's got +2 on this Nath Guide. The Nath Guide chose Celeborn, I believe, as the hero not to exhaust the quest. And away we go. Just counting it up here, I get really anxious sometimes and nervous. You can see my finger wavering around about what's in the staging area versus what I need to be questing for. It's hard balance. Like, I know that I've got three from the Fords of Isen, right? But what else is coming up the staging area? Like, is there enemies or a surge? If a Dunland Prowler comes out, it's going to surge because I have more than 3 cards in my hand. But I also need chump blockers, right? Now, we know that the Nath Guide, if it did quest here, would have been able to be ready. So there's a chump block. If I chump block here with anyone, I lose that Silvan Tracker as well. That's one thing you got to remember when playing 2 hands. Is there some, like, Silvan Tracker is cheap, but when a character leaves play, you lose her. Now, that gets you the Elven procs, sure, but yeah. So there's a Dunland Berserker. It's 2 threat, so it's 5 being added to the staging area in total. So 5, 8, 10, 13, 15, 16. Like, it's still a lot, right? It adds up, and this is where you can get location locked very quickly, right? I have a couple of cards in my deck that lets me remove threat directly by sacrificing or discarding a Rohan ally. So there's Ride of the Rohirrim, I think it is, or Wrath of Ruin, I think it's called. And this is what, it's Ride to Ruin. Action, discard Rohan ally to choose a location. You place 3 tokens on it, right? That gets rid of a complete one there. So I'm like, do I sack it? Yeah, I decide that sacking this here is important to do 3 against the Gap of Rohan, right? I think that's the way I do it. Or do I just own this here, drop the card instead? Now, this is the dilemma I have. I've got this here without speeding it up because I weigh up, okay, I can ready a hero to attack again or do other things for 1. So I spent 3 to do that. Or I discard a card each from each hand, sometimes in a unique that I've already got out, instead, to do +1. And I decide that I will do that for each player, which gives me enough to negate the Gap of Rohan this turn in my hand. Which gives me the distance I need against the zone. So 2, 5, 8, 10. Yeah, we're sitting pretty there, which is nice. Now, that pushes me over just. So that math there is nice that you can do that. Eowyn's handy using that action window before you resolve the quest to boost her there, which is good. So after driving the wild men back from the islet, you were surprised to find King Theoden's personal advisor, Grima Wormtongue. Now, Wormtongue is here, and we've rescued him, right? Which is super. He tells you on his way back for Isengard he was caught in the attack. Before he can say more of his errand, the Dunlendings redouble their assault. "Save me!" Grima cries as he shrieks behind you. The life of the King's Consular is in your hands. So it's a 14 threat. When revealed, each player searches the Dunland deck and discard area for one different Dunland enemy and adds it to the staging area. Time 2. Forced. At the last time counter is removed from this stage, each player assigns X damage among the character he controls, where X is the cards in their hand. Place 2 time counters on this stage. So you can see here we have a pressing scenario. This theme carries out through the entire cycle. This is a love-hate cycle. I like the theme. I don't like the time mechanic. I don't like being pressured. But hey, it's just the game that tests you. So we then travel to the Gap of Rohan to get the +1 attack out of the staging area. We have a lot of enemies in the staging area. However, a lot of them are out of reach still, which is good. 29 threat and 31 threat, right? We're okay. We're getting close to 33, which brings down the bandits, but we can deal with this. So pull out the Berserker, because the Berserker will attack us no matter what when engaged with us. We don't want them to attack unnecessarily. Eomer can dispatch with a block. So we're going to I've drawn 2 cards here. Whoops. All right, so get a location. That's fine. So it hits for 2. Right, and I think that undefended against Grima is fine, because Berserker's one of the few that you can probably tank with allies without risk of losing anyone. The others hit for 5 and 4s or +1 per card in your hand, and that starts to hurt a lot. Just taking those to the face is harder. Which Grima can take that there, which I'm fine with. No one's left play, which kind of would have been good, because that means Eomer could have one-shot this person, but he didn't. So we use done here for 2, Eomer for 3, that's 5, 4, 1, kills the Berserker. Even if I do that, I'm like, oh, look, I think that's the right action. Like, there's so many choices I could make here. Do I bring Haldir in? Do I chump block with a Horsebreaker? Like, in hindsight, if I chump block with a Horsebreaker, Eomer can do it, then Dunhee can attack the bandit with 1 health or with 1 damage already to do 2 damage against him in the staging area, right? You can see how this starts to work out, where that's probably the better move, because that means Haldir could have finished him off, right? And there's just so many things that would have been like, oh, that would have been nice, because if I discarded him to ready. And it's ready a hero, I believe, as well. Let me look at my decks in my hand. Yeah, to choose and ready a hero, not just any hero, a hero, right? Anyway, I've committed to the move. I like to play backwards too much, so I'm going to sack the hero now, right? Which would have happened maybe sooner. So I sack that hero. I ready up. I was just doing the counting, right? And I think actually this is where I do actually go back. So I look at this and go, I don't like to go back often, but I'm like, this is where I didn't see the synergy. Like, you need to play these decks a lot to get the synergies, and given the series, I don't play a deck for the entire cycle, not to bore the viewers. I thought, you know what, I'll own it. I thought, look, so you can see me umming and ahhing. I'm okay with umming and ahhing, but you look here. So I've sacked the Horsebreaker to ready up Haldir, right? So that's handy, because what that does, I could ready up even Galadriel, right, to do things. But you see, things her ring doesn't ready up as well. So if I ready up Haldir can attack, right, and just keep pasting people, which is handy. He attacks for 5 now into the staging area, right? So we'll get rid of that one there. Bye. And that starts to thin the staging area out. And the goal of this deck is this. Now, there is no dedicated defender in the Rohan deck. It requires allies. It isn't a really dedicated defender, arguably, in the Silvan deck either. The catch with all this, though, is that it just becomes tricky if they all come out at once. I can't take 3 defenses at once, right? So let's finish up our round, and we'll go from there. I'll get better at piloting these decks. I think as my series progresses, I might take on a deck longer term, like keep the Silvan deck in and then augment it with a Rohan deck or vice versa. So we have one sort of mainstay deck. Yeah, so I drop a Unexpected Courage here, which is nice, and play that. Oh, sorry, that's the one from before. I didn't have enough costs, so I play that there. Look, that's all right. We're going to do that onto Haldir. And now Haldir has Unexpected Courage as well, just off screen on him, which gives him addition already up. There is Lembas in this deck as well, which will help with another ready. But the goal is to have Haldir, if the left-hand deck gets overwhelmed or Aemma can't take 3 people on, we have that there. The Dunlanding Chieftain is one of the big bads in this encounter deck. And what he does is that you draw X cards from the encounter deck where X is your card count, and that becomes any enemies that just started, the top one gets revealed and engage with you, right? So you want to be able to remove them. Now that happens after that happens before shadow cards are dealt, so therefore that's going to attack you this round, which can throw off your best laid plans, right? So I play Escort from Edoras here and West Road Traveller. Now they shouldn't exhaust a quest, but they do. They beg your pardon, they exhaust a quest because Gladriel's for allies in their only hand. So Unexpected Courage again. That's nice to pick it out. I'm looking at Tree People here now. A heads up, I played Tree People wrong the first time. I don't discard an ally as the cost on the card. So the idea of Tree People is 0 cost. We return a Silvan ally to your hand to search top 5 cards of your deck. And when you search those top 5 cards of your deck, you may put one into play for free. Super. Now, I don't discard the card here. I just pick the top 5 and go because I'm excited about, here we go, my engine's online. Now, I quest for the right amount. I could have got rid of the Gladriel Handmaiden and quested with Grima instead, because I don't exhaust Grima this round. I couldn't cover the cost of paying for the one in my hand. I feel we're okay for this playthrough. However, let me know in the comments below. First of all, what you think about some of the mechanics of these decks. But second of all, did I invalidate my play? I think we're okay. I think my board state is healthy enough through this entire playthrough that I could have been down to and been okay, right? Through discarding cards, through feigned voices, through feints, and being able to deal with these attackers. One by one, we're slowly picking them off, cold and calculated. I think can skip my mistake. But the key thing is here, you need to discard an ally. You need to bounce it, right? And that's not discard it, sorry, return to your hand. And so, yeah, I could have returned it. I could have returned the Silvan Handmaiden, the Gladriel's Handmaiden, to my hand, right? Because I played that Nath Guide off her. And I could have returned the Nath Guide to my hand and played it again. I have enough resources. So let me know what you think. Now, Ill Tidings come out. I've only got 1 card in my hand, which is nice, which means it doesn't surge when it comes out. I use this, that's off the Henmarth River song, of which then I declare Treachery as the Wingfoot proc, which means Haldir can quest as well, and not worry. I quest with that particular Nath Guide for 2, right, because it entered the board, so it gets +1 from Caliborn. Nath Guide has triggered Caliborn when it came out to say this hero doesn't exhaust a quest this round. So I'm questing with Haldir as well. And I don't quest with Grima. This is where I think I'm okay for not doing it there. I could also pay again for that the next turn for the Maiden to come out. So I think I'm in a neutral state for not discarding her. Lots of things happen at once in this game, and sometimes it's full on, like even it's full on one player, right? With these bigger decks. I've not played a Grey Wanderer deck or any sort of Voltron style decks where you build up one person. So I feel like they suit me more to pilot. Now, the Dunland Prowler comes out. This is exciting. I'm clapping here like a seal. The Dunland Prowler comes out, and for once, I do not have 3 cards in my hand, therefore it doesn't gain Surge. In addition to this, look, 1, 2. 1, 2. I don't have 5 cards. Therefore, I don't, there's a fist pump there. I don't get a +1 on it towards threat. Right, so in staging. Which means for once, I'm ahead. Woohoo! Now, this is where I look to start to bring out the Prowlers. Right, they hit for 5, and they hit hard. However, I don't have the +1 damage everywhere. So I haven't got any chump blockers ready for them. But I'll get ready for them, knowing that I have a low set of resources now in my hand. I can be ready to chump block them next round. So this is where I draw up some cards here to 5, because that's when the Fords of Isen becomes active. Now, given that this is the travel phase, there is no +1. Well, the +1's active now on the Dunland Prowler, but Surge doesn't trigger anything like that because we've closed off the encounter phase, or the quest phase. So now I've got some cards, I've got Lembas, I've got some nice things in my drawer. I've got Test of Will and various things to negate some of the scenario challenges that I can't put against. What concerns me is that I have all of those condition attachments, and I haven't drawn my my doomed card that lets me remove 2 condition attachments in play. So I'm going to defend here, again with Arwen and a Shadow. I remove any there's one of the ones, remove an attachment. If undefended, remove all attachments. This hand has no attachments, thankfully. No horses, nothing like there. So it's 2 attack, and she gains +1 and Sentinel, and it's applied to herself here because she's exhausted. So she has 2 defense and 2 health. And Arwen the Even Star, Arwen and Durmiel, survives, which is nice because look, if she went, it pumps up Irma to 5. He and done here can attack for 7, killing it. So it's like, oh, maybe I want it flipped, but I don't see Arwen again in my hand for the entire game, right? And yeah, that's the tricky one, is that balancing that out. I have the Power of Orthanc in this deck, which is a 0-cost spirit card, Doom 2. Each player may choose a condition attachment from play and choose and discard it. Now that's a great card at the risk of increasing my threat, but these conditions do damage and increase my threat every round, so it's worth the cost. Bit of a sunk cost, but you're going to be paying it anyway through Doomed, or having the condition proc. Alright, so here I'm weighing up just a normal range attack. So Irma and Heldi. Heldi performs are just a range, not his fancy disengaged one in the combat action. This is purely just a normal range attack. And he and Ea are going to attack the Prowler for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's just enough. It's 6, right? Individually, Irma can't do it, nor can Dunhere, because my thought is Dunhere can hit the Bandit and do 1 damage against it because it's got 2 defense, right? And then ready up LD and attack again, right? And do something against one of the raiders. That's the thought process. So those 2 attack and kill the Prowler. Dunhere against the Bandit. So 2 + 1 is 3 against 2 defense. We'll see 1 damage against the Bandit. And then I use Unexpected Courage on Haldi. It's just below the screen here. I might collapse them in the future, or maybe do something different. I don't know. And what you can see here is that he'll ready up and attack the Prowler for... He's doing 5 damage. So you do 2 against the Prowler. And that's handy because it just whittles away. Like, it'll be nice to one-shot everything, but it means next turn I can potentially hit it. If I get the -2 Rivendell Blade, I'm hitting for a lot more, right? Doing most defenses are 3 and 1 in this scenario. There's not many 4s. There's no big bads that are defended or have the I forget what the terminology is called, where it's you get 1 damage reduced no matter what. The Uruks have it in the 2 towers. Toughness, I think it is. So I'm happy with this here. Now the timer goes from 2 to 1. Right, from 2 to 1 to 1 to 0, which means I do damage across my each hand based on the number of cards in my hand. Remember, so number 2B says After the last time counter is removed from this stage, each player assigns X damage amongst characters he controls, where X is the number of cards in his hand. Place 2 counters or time counts on this card. Right? So it's getting a little bit frustrating, right? But we're getting there. We're getting there. We're questing hard. We're going to make it through. So I've got the damage around. I spread it around. So the elves, ideally, when I get the right Silvan out, I get the Silvan tracker. When a Silvan character readies up, it heals for 1. This is amplified by Elrond's, which we've seen in previous videos. Elrond's +1 for healing abilities. But we'll get there. 3 on Galadriel. No one's touching Galadriel. She's fine. She's not defending ever. So because she can't. And there's no archery besides this. So I'm happy to load her up. If I lose her, I'm going to be in a bit of strife. But other ones I can do where I can trigger any procs or anything like that. I'll load up. There's some 2 health allies around I can use. Some of the named allies in the elves have more than 1 health. So we should be okay. Alright. So we've got a healthier hand now through legitimate means. We've got nothing that hurts us. The bandit is a concern because we're hitting the threat territory where he's going to come out. We're 32, I think we're 31 and 32, or 30 and 32 maybe. Well, let's see. Actually, no, we're 33 now. So here we go. So he's going to come out this turn, which is fine if I chump block. And I've got things here to chump block with, right? So I didn't quest with Escort from Heteros before. Didn't quest with Restful Traveller because I came out after. I got Spear of the Mark. Fantastic. Now, if this goes on to done here, it's a tactics card. It's restricted, attached to a Rohan. It's restricted. So you get +1. And you get +2 if you're attacking the staging area. So 2 +1 for the staging area on his card, +2 more makes 5. So now he hits the staging area for 5. You can also add other things like Dagger or Westerness, which does your threat versus their threat, and you get +2. So you can see how you can build up these attackers to be very potent, right? I didn't choose to use Daggers of Westerness. I chose to use the Elven Sword ones because I was focusing mostly on buffing up Heldir. In hindsight, I should have probably mixed and matched. I should have put some equal parts of daggers in as well. But hey, there's so many weapons, only so much tactics resources. Like, I haven't even got a Horn of Gondor out, right? Which would have been ideal. That's okay. Alright, so we're getting there slowly. We're getting there. And let's see what we draw up here. There's 10 cards. Lots of Nanyas. Another aspect of courage. Forest. Yeah. I've got the so many options here. Now, I could bring out a Defender of Nath, which would have been ideal. Nath Guide, sorry, and they've got there's so many options because do I want defenders? Do I want chumps? Do I want people additional healings? Now I play the tree people again because I feel the tree people is the right choice because I'm very likely to have in my top 5 cards an ally. There's 26 allies in this deck. That's a 1 in 2 chance, over 50%. Or maybe there's 52 cards. There's 52 cards in this deck. So, like, we're sitting at a very 50% chance, right? So, I'll be very unlucky not to get this there. So, I grab this here. We shuffle it in, right? Now, there is obviously a encounter card here, which is very obvious to what it is. So, we shuffle it up. Right. So, I'll speed up this clip. All right. Elorian, fantastic, because anything else would be sadness. Oh, look, I could have lost the Galadriel's Handmaiden, even Lembas, right? But having that Silvan tracker there is what I'm after. I'll tell you what, the feel of these Cardboard of the Ring sleeves, the Weird Book of Westmarch, is so nice. The other card sleeves are Dragon Shields, but yeah, you can see me patting those cards before. All right, so again, I need to discard an ally to play the Tree People. I will discard the Nath Guide here. I don't believe I make this mistake twice. Play Defender of Nath. Right, and then I withdraw her to play it again. I look at my resource tracker and go, actually, that's the one I want to do. Because I've got resources to play another spirit character, but not to play another leadership character. So, there's some logic to what we. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I've got a risk to play another leadership character, not another spirit character, and so I do that way, and also the end of the board of the Nath Guide is much nicer to not exhaust a hero to quest this round, which is nicer there. So I'll play the Nath Guide again. The Nath Guide wouldn't come in. Oh, it's just I'm so miffed at myself for making the Galadriel thing so much harder than it needed to be. That's okay. It happens. We're not all perfect. It's what is going on there. It's okay. So we'll play that Nath Guided Galadriel. I'll play Galadriel. Yeah, no, that's right. I'll play the Handmaiden first, then I'll play that there. Because of Lorien, I had one resource to play the. I had two resources or more in the leadership pool. One resource in the spirit. So whilst that was the best combination to get the most out, which means I get 3 on the Handmaiden compared to having 2, and then I get the extra Nath Guide to let Celeborn quest. Lembas being paid for, the one from Haldir of Lorien, puts on Dunhere, right? And this is where it's nice because Dunhere can then attack twice for 5 in the staging area against 2 different enemies and do substantial damage. Right, substantial. Now he can't have a Silvan, he can't have a Rivendell Blade because he's not a Silvan. However, he can start hurting people a lot, which is nice. 5 adds up. That's a Berserker in one hit. That's the nighttime one, the Bandit in another hit, right? Or Bandit in one hit. I think Bandit's 2 plus 4, so it's 6. But like here, you just start to realize that the engines come online, right? I've got my Horn of Gondor here, which is good. I misput one resource from the Horn of Gondor onto Eomer because I don't know why, but that happens later. Doesn't change my costings. Yeah, the Raider even hit for 5 and take 3 away. He's doing 2 per damage. The Dunlum Prowler will still take 2, which means everything starts becoming quite nice to do that there. Nice to hit with. Given that Haldir and Dunhere can attack together to the staging area. Now, it says well, actually, no, they can't because he attacks alone. But Haldir can attack in the staging area once per turn. And he goes horizontally across, for another range attack. It gets very, very nice in that regard. You can see this engine coming online. I'm missing my Rivendell Blade, but that being said, I don't have any sort of Master of the Forge or anything way to check for attachments, right? So I'm okay with that. Alright, so let's see here. I've done what I need to do. Questing for 24. Now I've just decided I want this quest done. Now, what happens? 26 actually, because I've quested the Nath Guide too. Now, what's important here? Most I can draw out is 8 here, right? So, all right, Gappa Rohan, not too bad. 2, and then okay, there's the Chieftain, right, which is 5. 3 in total, so it's 5. It's not too bad. So they put 3, 5, 8, 10, 13 against 26. So they're making 13 progress here. I need almost there. I need a little bit more, but it's okay. So looking through this here, nothing's coming out. Oh, actually, the Bandit's going to come out this turn. So what I need to do is defend potentially with Arwen, right? Oh, defend with the Defender of Nath, right? But you can see it's not a bad progress there. I've got enough people to deal with this. I have one of the Nath guys defending. I've got, if I need to, I have the Defender of Nath with Sentinel +1 this turn coming out. Yeah, so look, it's not too bad. Here's a cheeky one. Here I play Quick Strike on Dunhere right now. In the action window, in the quest phase. Now let's Dunhere attack for his full amount, 5, against the Bandit, removing him before I calculate the final cost of questing. Per my action window guide in my booklet I'm looking at, this is valid. The same way as I bumped Eowyn there is a quest phase, quest action window, I've used that there, which then drops it by the threat by 2, which means it's 11 versus 25, which means I clear the entire... Yeah, that should have been on... That's on 14 now. I clear the whole thing, right? Which is nice because 1, I have less people coming out, and 2, less in the staging area. Now, 3A. The Denalian's assault is relentless, and your army grows weary. Take me to Isengard, Grima pleads, but you will not abandon your defense. You will either break the will of the enemy or give your life for it in a heroic last stand. When revealed, each player searches for the encounter deck and discard a pile for a different Dunland enemy and adds it to the staging area. And you shuffle the encounter deck. 3B. Hold the Fords. Time 3. Forced. After the last time counter is removed from this stage, discard the top X cards of the encounter deck. X is the number of cards in the player's first hand, or first player's hand. Add each enemy discarded this way to the staging area. Put 3 time counters on this stage. While there is at least 1 enemy in play, the players cannot defeat this stage. If the players defeat this stage, they win the game. So I've added my old faithful duo of Tribesman and Berserker. Now I am on 33 threat. I optionally engage that to the first player there. I give them a shadow card. Arwen and Dumiel, you hold on, my dear. You give yourself +1 defense to exhaust. It hits for 2. Now, she should not have gone out of play because she defended. She should have exhausted 2 defense. Would have seen her die. Oh, you know what? In the plainness here, I'll put the defense elsewhere. I'll put the defense onto Caliborn. Right, that works. I'll put the defense out against Sentinel, which triggers all of the things, right? That's valid. So she's died. She didn't have to die there, but I made her die by not triggering her proc on herself. Which is a little cheeky, but hey, that's how sometimes we do these things. So 5, it's a bit of jank, maybe. Hit the 5 against done here against there. So Lembast already up, takes his damage off himself, and attacks against that person there. So intentionally knowing I can hit for 5 repeatedly, or draw, means Emma clear that one for me by losing Arwen, hitting for 5. Done here hits into the staging area for 5. Super, right? That's just nice playing, right? Cool. So I just was checking here. I'm like, okay, did I do this right? No, I did this right. This is all valid, right? Because Haldi is there. He's attacking now. I've ready him up. He'll attack. And I can see if I need to do 5 damage here. Against the 5. And I'll hit into that there. So that's valid. So 5, remove 3, so do 2 more damage. So that's on 4 out of 5. Weakening the staging area a little bit more, which is nice. Like, we're getting there. It takes a little bit of time to get this board online, and in that time, this deck has more enemies than any other. Like, I feel like I think Visions of the Palantir said it's 2/3 or even more of this encounter deck has enemies, right? Which is a lot. Now, it's not a pure tactics deck, but it's combat orientated, right? This could be improved, I'm sure, with different types of attacking. If you wanted to engage things, I'm sure you could use things like the Dunedain decks, the Tactics Aragon, that encourage you to engage your enemies for perks, right? Amathuriel is her name, like to help, right? But this is my approach. I like this approach, to be honest. I don't have the strongest deck building knowledge, but I like these little things. Yeah, and by the way, those who look at the deck lists that are linked in the video, you'll see that the Elf deck is pretty much the starter deck, except for like Host of the Galadrim and a few other cards that aren't available. So this cycle really built out the Silvan archetype. I got no qualms in using it a bit this cycle. I think it's going to be nice. Bit thematic, because we are trudging into the old Holland and different areas where Callum Brimbrawl made the rings back in the day. If that's in the Amazon Rings of Power series, which you enjoyed, or you enjoyed the Silmarillion and other things, you'll learn about all that sort of stuff. So there's the Horn of Gondor. Again, and that's fine because I have ways to discard them. So Eowyn's key here is not just questing, but the ability to discard cards out of my hand to keep me under the threshold of those silly +1 things. So I use 2 lore resources to pay for the tracker to come out using O'Lorian. Pay the 1 spirit to get the Sylvan Refugee out. And I'm bracing here to return one of these characters to my hand after questing or whatever to trigger Nath Guide. So Nath Guide allows me to essentially it's a feint if I return a Silvan to my hand, right? It's not exhaust a Silvan, it's return a Silvan. So they can do their thing, they can do their play, then we can return to our hand, which ends up being nice here. Now, there's a number of cards here in my hand I'm going through here. Search top 10 cards for a mount. Hoping to find Firefoot. Don't find a Firefoot. So unfortunately, the Westfold Horsebreeder didn't help me out there, but look again, we've got pretty commanding board state. I have a lot of chump blockers. I have ability to trigger AMA a lot. The cycling. I am keen once a long extended party comes and I get to the Children of Earl cycle to use the cards in there. Thengel. It really flushes out the Rohan archetype. Right, so let's proc the mirror to count these 10 cards up because there's a lot there. I think based on the board state, taking a named hero would be ideal here. This named hero would give us Sentinel and give us, excuse me, a steady stat line. And that steady stat line is what we're after there. So we'll shuffle the deck back in. Look, we're getting close in. We have pretty dominant state here. So I've got 2 cards here. I'm going to roll a d6. And 1 to 3 will be Orifim. And 5 to 6, or whichever I did. I think I did left and right. I think that's what I did. Right. Yeah, and so Feigned Voices was 1 to 3. And 4, 5, 6 was Orifim, which saw me just like be a bit frustrated because I think it didn't matter. Excuse me. Which one went out, if it was chump blocking the captain or if it was using Feigned Voices, because I still rotating someone through, I can afford to pay for both, so I'm not overly concerned. Shuffling is a bit odd with 2 cards, so I rolled the dice. I don't know what's official or what's not. Flip a coin maybe next time. But yeah, it's okay. So Henrath to flip, calling out land on Gab, which is there, so it's a location. Heldir is going to quest as well. So we get all of the friends for questing here, which works out nicely. The goal here is to get to 16 as fast as possible and deal with any additional enemies, right? So if I can clear out the tracker, or the raider, sorry, it leaves me with a captain and a raider, and I've got low card count. I've got 2 cards in one hand and 3 in another, I think, or 2 cards. So like we're sitting pretty to deal with this soak of the damage. Rivermark's Finest can take a damage. Ema and Dunhere especially after healing with Lembas can take some more damage. Alright, so it gets a bit, I notice having 2 ally heavy decks, it does slow the videos down. Like we're going to hit an hour and 15 in total, hour and 10 in total, which is not awful, but it's also quite long, right? So thanks for sticking with us. I'm getting decent watch rate here, so those who stick through it, I appreciate. Listen to the Aussie dulcet tones when you get to 57 minutes. Alright, so this is where I'm like, do I commit Caliborn or not? I don't. I retract Caliborn, I think, because like questing for 27 or 30 is a lot, right? It's going to be, look, it's one of those things. I'll put Greenmore instead, right? So look, it's fine. I think we're questing relatively high. We'll quest for almost 16. We've got 9 in the staging area now, so these are quite high threat enemies in the staging area. So let's see here. We're going to see what comes out. Let's draw the gap around. Not too bad. And we get, okay. I get ill things. I got 2 cards in the hand, right? And 2 cards in my other hand. I have my Test of Will here, which is super. It wouldn't have mattered holding that card in my hand, but like, whatever. That's not too bad. See here now, we're questing for 29 against 11. And that means that we will clear the gap of Rohan, along with clearing the stage, which gives us the trigger. I'll boost it there by getting rid of the Horn of Gondor, which is nice because it's a unique. I've already got one out, right? So that's the 16 on the stage. I think I'm counting up again my total quest power. So 31 here. versus the 11, which is a progress, as you saw there. And just looking at that, who I'm going to take, right? So, like, look at my threat, I should say, not quest power. To take out, look, they're all 35, which means I've got a turn or two before I need to deal with this. And so, yeah, we travel to the gap of Rohan, that's fine. Okay, now I'm going to optionally engage the Dunland Raider on the left side, and I will snipe the right side, which means I can use Dun here against... The Dun here can be used against the right side to kill it. I can use Irma and Haldir here. And I optionally engage the Cat Chieftain, right? So I draw up 2 cards, where X is those 2 cards. And I cards in my hand, so I need to draw 2, and the top enemy is revealed. So that's right, so I discard 2 cards. The top enemy is revealed and engage with you. So it doesn't matter if it's 2 enemies, you just need to do that there. Give the shadow card to both. So I now have an unexpected enemy in with me, which is, again, not too much of an issue, but it's something that I didn't expect. So I used Feigned Voices to get rid of a card here. You can see I removed that ally who's going to be removed from it. Well, I lost a character anyway. And reveal the Ninth Guard to come out to then essentially negate the Donodyne Chieftain's attack, right? And then I use Defender of Nath against the Duna Berserker, excuse me, which sees me deal with that accordingly. Alright. And then, yeah, so I can see that I've just done that Defender of Nath, that's fine. And away I go. There, I kill with done here, the one in the staging area. So now the only ones here between Irma attacking and Haldir attacking are the ones here. So I have the raid on the left hand side, which I'd be sure I could draw a shadow card on. Is attacking, and I'm taking a defense chump block here. I chump block that there. Kills character, buffs Irma. Irma attacks for 5. 5. And then I can use the Riddermark's Finest for 6. Right. And that 6 will do 3 damage against the Raider, which is not the best scenario, but it is a scenario. Like, looking at it in hindsight, yeah, it's 5, and then the 1 from the Riddermark. Oh, actually, no, that's right. Let's use Haldir, because Haldir can ready up. So, again, it's the ranged attack, not his combat action to the staging area. They're ready him up, and they can attack here. I have Caliborn right here to help. Yeah, so look, that works out well. It's also Defender of Nath, which I was meant to do before. So look, I've got 5 attack here. Well, it's actually 4 because of he's not in the staging area. I have the Silvan Tracker as well, which makes it 6, and then I'll have Caliborn as well, so 2. So it's not too bad. Like, you can see there, I'm doing alright. Like, it's not a scenario where I'm concerned about my board state. I'm not concerned about the damage I'm doing. I know that I'm very close. I just need to survive another round of questing. Worst case is I draw up 2 enemies, right? And I have another 2 to go around another again. So you can see my board state's pretty dominating. I want to get rid of the Berserker first, no matter what, because when I draw a card at the end of round or start of the next round, he'll attack me, right? And so it's not something I want to deal with too much. So I'm just counting out the damage being done, because he comes out with 2, right? So 4 from Haldir. I've got the damage from what's it called? Nath Guide, Silvan Tracker, Caliborn, and Haldir to remove that guy there. And then now this attack is undefended. I'm just confirming here. I mental blanked. So I have all this printed up in my books, and I'll fast forward this a bit. rules and the FAQs printed out in 3 binders, which is nice. So it's a good reference. I like to play offline completely when I play because I get distracted by computers. But yeah, essentially I get to ready up first before it attacks, right? So away we go there. You can see clearing up the board state. We're on 1 to counter to go. And for some reason, I either didn't resolve that attack, or I don't know what I'm doing here. This was recorded at 11:30 at night, this particular recording, and my voiceover is in the next morning. But looking at here, this board state, I'm causing a feint, right? And I've put a feint against... Well, I'll be definitely putting a feint on that enemy, most likely. We'll see what comes out. Right, so I just clean up my board state. That attack would have gone against Caliborn. He can defend, or he could just take it. Nothing's doing more than 4 damage to me, so I'm not overly concerned about that. Now, out comes Nathguide, gets +1. Caliborn is the hero chosen, so I paid only 1 for that, thanks to Olorian. We do the Galadriel trick to boost up questing. I quest for a little bit, like, so thinking 2 cards, maybe 3. At most, we get 9. Alright, so I just quest for 12 to be sure. I draw up the one of the conditions, right, which surges. So no cards yet. Gappa Rohan. And okay. The Dunedain Chieftain's back. That's okay, we can do with 9. So I'll draw him out and I'll kill him here. So we have the Berserker here. The Berserker would have attacked. Now, the Berserker attacking here, defending that accordingly with, let's say, that... I don't know why I didn't trigger. Again, let's draw those shadow cards up. That would have been the shadow card. Technically, would have been the... if we do this through this, the shadow card would have been the condition that's on the quest from the previous turn. Attack when I draw a card in the first phase, defend that with, let's say it would have been Defender of Nath most likely, or let's say whatever that may be. I take 2 damage, I lose a character, I may not, and then I would then take the 2 cards, which would mean the Gap of Rohan and the Dunedain Chieftain still would have been the same order of things. So it doesn't change the outcome, just me being a little bit lapse of attention towards the end here, and it happens. This is an hour into recording and I'm a little bit tired. I've made that excuse a few times, but life happens. I like recording because it looks like I'm getting better at my playthroughs, but there are some triggers I do miss. So he should have attacked me. Again, if that's defended or chumped, I've got the hand, I have the cost, I have the resources to pay for things. So I'm doing all right here. Okay, this is where I pick my 2 cards here. I've done left and right hand, 1 to 3 and 4 to 6. And so I keep the Nathguide, which is nice. I love Nathguide. I think it's one of the best cards in the game. But again, the Chieftain engages you, right? And you've got all of these things that are based on the cards in your hand. And because my cards now, I'm almost top decking, we're in a good spot. Now, given that I optionally engage the Dunedain Chieftain here, ignore what I do for the next 10 seconds because I forgot to draw 2 cards in my hand to match the number of cards in my hand from the encounter deck. I realized that, hang on, wait, read the card, the Forced effect. So instead of doing these as shadow cards, this card, that location that came out and the Berserker's card there are the 2 cards I should have drawn. So you can see here, okay, look at this, look at the card 1, 2. The Nathguide and the Crows. So these are the 2 that go on top, which is actually pretty better, to be honest. Okay, there's 2 there. No worries. So now I draw my shadow cards. Right. Defend. Okay, it still would have pasted the Defender Nath. That's okay. And we'll put this one against Undefended. And it's +3 against Caliborn. Right. So if I took that previous Berserker attack for 2 against Haldir or 2 against... whatever, it was Haldir, right? it's okay. And if that was against someone else, like at the end of the day, we're doing okay. I'm attacking here for everything against me here. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1 from Silvan Tracker, 2 from Nath Guide, Haldir Valorian, Caliborn, and we have the 9, and we can get rid of our Dunedain Chieftain, which is nice. He goes away. Unexpected Courage on Haldir brings him up. Plus Henmarth River Song's 1, because we didn't top deck this quest. Because it's 5, kills the Berserker, and that completes the quest, which is lovely. So what we've got here now is the Hold the Fort complete, the Fords of Isen done, and the sieging, surging mass of bodies, people, card affixed berserking warriors has been sated. We have rescued Grima Wormtongue, and we'll continue on now to the second quest of the Voice of Isengard Deluxe set. Thanks for sitting with me. Thanks for bearing with a couple of little mistakes. I think that is a clean win in the shake things out. Piloting 2 decks does have a mental load on it, and I always think I'll keep that elf deck in play for most of the cycle, because one, it uses a lot of cards from this cycle, and it'll be good to bed in some of these synergies a bit nicer, be neater with it, be tidier with it. I look to bring forward maybe another elf deck on the other side, like Alas and Friends. We'll see what happens there. Looking for something maybe, if you want to recommend something, by all means go for it when this launches. But there are a lot of cards around there that I want to see building up stronger heroes. Eomer, Aragon, those sort of Voltron style characters. Maybe we can have a bit of a synergy there. But thanks for playing with me. Thanks for reading along. This is an hour and 15 minutes, and I appreciate your time. Talk soon. And remember, if you like this stuff, we'd love you to hit the subscribe button. See you soon. Thanks for watching Pandem's playthroughs.